Good morning. So, been listening to a few presentations via YouTube. A talk by Hasan Piker at Stanford University. It seems that there's a lot to be unearthed in the American education system as far as universities go. Not so much in maybe colleges or local trade schools, because they're under the auspices of their communities more so than the propaganda and lures of American corporations and sponsors, their donors. If you're going to university, do yourself a favor if you have a conscience and are concerned about your daily quality of life and are hypersensitive to moral surprises. Research them, research their funders and board of directors, what they invest in. You may be surprised that many universities around the United States are heavily invested in Israel's colonizing project of Palestine and have been from the get-go. I feel it's important to remain realistic with what your desire to change sits with daily. I think the system on the surface, and it can only be on the surface because it has no depth. It's built on propaganda and fear and dominance, as all egoic patriarchal empires are. This is why fascism burns books. There's no depth, and depth is the enemy. So with that in mind, focus on yourself primarily in the beginning. Make a list of what bothers you and then research it. And what I mean by researching is, say, injustice bothers you. Gain company with other people, living and dead. I think it's really important to anchor into heroes, good heroes, who have had similar emotional and intellectual burdens to carry, for lack of a better word. I don't mean to dramatize anything more than what it is on your personal level. But back to the propaganda and the system, it's meant to defeat your will if you take your desire to remedy injustice outside of yourself. The way I look at it is, if you think of it as an all or nothing project, it's self-defeating, and it stops you in your tracks, and you become hopeless and even sort of disassociated from the project, which is exactly what is supposed to happen when you are in that kind of mindset. The strategy is to change yourself in small incremental ways. Start with finding heroes that have taken, that are maybe a little further ahead on the path, who've written books, who have spoken out, and study them. And through that study, you gain a kind of company, and then look around your personal life day to day and see how it resembles in your interactions with other people, and even your imagination, your expectations, how that resembles the world, and work on that. Become an example of the world that you feel helpless in changing. That, to me, is the first step. A lot of reactionaries, or even far left activists, get caught up in affirmations and hope and dreams, and ultimately get demolished by things not changing fast enough, or the resistance is too big. Like when there were campaigns to occupy Wall Street. It's not to say that that's not a legitimate action. It sheds some light on a dubious practice. Again, a patriarchal hobby that occurs when there's no moral foundation, no real humanitarian principles to have a priority list that goes beyond the ego and the sort of knee-jerk desires of the patriarchy, shadow desires, things that are a response to what they lack internally. And all this stuff is ultimately on autopilot until you take charge of yourself, and you have a moral and ethical foundation to filter the mind and the reactions. Otherwise, it becomes sort of a flippant birth of bad ideas. They may be good for you, but they take from others. They risk others. And if we don't begin nailing down what's happening inside of ourselves, then nothing can be built outside. And And so the point is, educate your demons, educate your anxiety, be an example in your everyday interactions with everyone from the cashier of the lumber supply company you may or may not go to very frequently, or a complete stranger, or a friend who says something flippant that you feel in your gut is wrong, but you don't say anything because uh, you're afraid to be alone. Challenge those fears, not aggressively, but in a subtle way. Ask questions instead of giving answers, or a quick, angry reply. Just softly cross-examine your friends. Um, be patient with them, but also stern in your determination to really find out what is what, and what are people up to. And if their project doesn't resemble yours, then ask yourself, is this worthy of the time I'm spending? Time is the real money. And the only way to make a profit is starting with yourself first, and taking that project of change that more often than not gets defeated when taken to the world at large, and change yourself and keep doing it. And at the same time, advocate for external change, but know that it's part of your quality of life workshop, that it's not the pinnacle that's going to prove that you've been successful. You're the proof, ultimately. And take a look at, there's an idea that Carl Jung developed, integration of shadow. Look into that. Shadow integration has been around under different names for a long time. Philosophy, the study of dreams and where emotions come from, where interpretations come from. Things like this are part of shadow work. And to end this, because I have to go, but this is part of my daily ritual of evolving this channel. So I wanted to put this quick video out. Here's a little sculpture I made called, I think I named it Buddha with Wings. To me, this is sometimes I like to create things that stop the mind, that it can't reconcile. And to me, it's like a symbol of having shadow integration, fathering and mothering your angst, and instead of peddling it as if the world is to blame. The world triggers you, but you're the owner of the triggers. And you can use those triggers when they occur to be good to yourself and better to the world. It's not to say anger is bad or rage is bad. They're necessary. They protect your boundaries. And without good boundaries, you won't survive the project. It's a long, arduous road, and no one really knows how long their road actually is. There's no guarantee that it's going to lead into some sort of graceful aging. The length of the road is a myth anyway. That's another non-starter for a lot of people. The idea of a long, arduous road could be challenging for one type of person and inspire them, and for another type of person, not so much. So, just as a little disclaimer, since I'm one who is kind of sentimental about long roads, and it doesn't really bother me, so I advocate for it. But for people who are more, I want it now, instead of thinking of it as a long road that's already there, think of it as building a road, and which will be perhaps someone else's long road someday. There's different ways of looking at it. So here it is. Here's the Buddha with wings. Smiling Buddha. And not just any wings. These are, I guess you could call them dragon wings or bat wings. They have a little spike at the top, so I'm pretty sure they're dragon wings. I have to get in practice to left and right on my camera because they're reversed. So yeah, this is him. I made him about maybe close to a decade ago. One of them. This is the only one I have, and I believe I have the vulcanized rubber mold for the Buddha, and maybe the wings too. If you're interested, if you want to have a mind stopper artifact, give me a reply. We'll figure something out. I'm very much into creating new artifacts and having them in sincere homesteads. So have a good day, and thank you for your support.